Welcome to DHD Racing Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about the 2023 Australian Grand Prix. So, Darine, Holly, did you wake up at 6 a.m. to watch the Grand Prix?
I went to bed at 6 a.m. I was writing my coursework.
So assuming that's a no then to watching the race.
Literally not.
I also did not. I got up at 6. I was fully intending on doing it, and then I came downstairs. I watched the first 10 minutes. I saw Verstappen retake Hamilton for the lead with complete ease, no struggle at all. And I thought, wow, I have to travel 5 hours to Exeter today. I need the sleep. This seems like it's going to be a pretty average race. And I was still, thinking about how ordinary the previous race, Jeddah, was. So I was like, I'll just go back to bed. I'm sure nothing interesting or exciting or odd or out of the ordinary is going to happen in the next hour and a half. And then I come downstairs for the last lap. There are 12 cars left on the grid. There's images of fire and crashes.
Total chaos.
Yeah. I'm excited to hear what happened, honestly.
So, I guess I was the only one who watched the whole race.
Round of applause.
Yeah, big round of applause, honestly.
I was awake from 3 a.m. and then I went to bed at 10:30. So I was awake almost 20 hours or something ridiculous. I saw the end of the F2 race. I wasn't feeling well. That's why I woke up. I didn't wake up early just for the race. I wasn't feeling
on purpose, yeah.
My bus was at 6 a.m. So I knew I had to wake up at 4:30 anyway. But I woke up at 3 and then I couldn't go back to sleep. So I stayed up, watched the end of the F2 race, and then I watched, all of the pre-race whilst I was getting ready to head for my bus. I was standing at the bus stop, and I think I messaged both of you, but you were both asleep, and I was like, can this bus just hurry up, please? I need to start watching the Grand Prix. And then as soon as I wrote that message, the bus came, and I was like, oh, thank goodness. So I got on the bus as soon as possible, and then logged straight on my laptop, and I sat there the whole time with my little notebook, and I was so cramped. I had my notebook resting on top of my laptop, trying to write notes as best I can. My notebook is a mess because of it. And then I kept losing signal. So I know that some things I might have missed, but I watched the majority of it.
I admire the dedication.
Thank you. I then got off the bus, and then I set up my suitcase with my laptop on top whilst I waited for my parents to pick me up. And they were running out late. So I watched the whole red, because it was all red flagged. I watched all of that, and then I watched the final lap of the race. Stood at the bus stop. It was cold. It was not fun. Well, it was fun, but do you know what the hardest thing was? When I watch F1, I'm so vocal. I scream, I shout, I react so badly to it. I just am so loud. I had to be silent on this bus.
Silent on the bus.
6 a.m. I had to be silent. It was so difficult. Every now and again I go, no.
Of all the races, so hard to have to be
a lot of no's.
Silent.
Why couldn't it have been Jeddah?
Silent for.
Why couldn't it have been Jeddah?
I know.
You
could have had a nap if it had been Jeddah.
True. So at least I watched the whole race. But it was hard. It wasn't easy. Okay,
the tough life of a motorsport journalist, everybody.
Definitely.
Journalism on the go.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah. So, let's start off with that one.
Okay.
The three of us are known for being Ferrari fans.
Yeah, I did see this. I did see this.
Because I saw you the day after the race,
Daniella. Yeah, we did.
So I remember my reaction when you told me that Charles didn't even make it 20 seconds in the race. We were taking a walk, and I asked her, how did it go? And how was the race? I didn't expect anything. Like you, Holly, thought it'd be an average race. And I asked Daniella, how did it go? Anything interesting? And she goes, yeah, Charles didn't make it 20 seconds. And I just went, what? 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 Out in public in the streets. I shouldn't have been that surprised, but I was, I was disappointed.
It's because I mean I think I was probably half asleep when I was watching this section. So Daniela, what exactly happened? Because I know he like went off, something like that. Was it like a car
Yeah,
failure or was
so
it driving error?
it was driving error, but a little bit of his fault, maybe also not. So from my memory, we had just gone through the first corner, and I think we were heading to the second corner, and you had George and Max at the front, and George overtaking Max, and you had Lewis, but then you also had Carlos Sainz like trying to come round on the right, and then you had Fernando as well was in that mix, but Stroll and Leclerc kind of sort of hit each other because Fernando, I think, was trying to go through, and so then they kind of touched wheels, and then that made Leclerc spun, but then he went into gravel, and because he was stuck in the gravel, that was no more. So this is all from my memory. I didn't write complete detailed notes, so I might have got that wrong, but I think that's what happened. And for context, we're filming this over a week later. We've all been so busy that we haven't been able to film it. So yeah, we are behind. So that's why my memory's not so great, because it's not like the next day or anything. It's over a week later.
Yeah, we saw each other the next day.
Yeah.
In person.
In person, yeah. So yeah, so I think that is what happened. It then was not, the incident was no further investigated, and it was just a racing incident after that. So it did lead to us having a yellow flag and safety car on lap 1, so that they could get Leclerc out of the gravel trap. But by lap 3, green flag. We thought, okay, this is good. This is going to be all right.
Back on track, right?
Back on track. Everything's going to be fine. Again. And you know what? You know who was looking really strong and was so strong last year as well? Alex Albon. And I was going, yes, go on, Alex. Go on, Alex. As soon as I started cheering on Alex.
Did he also DNF?
DNF. And in my notes, I wrote, Alex Albon out. No! Sad face.
So yeah, what happened with him? Because I don't think I saw that bit. I saw up to the point of like yeah.
So what happened? So they showed the footage, and then literally like 2 or 3 days ago, I saw James Bowles, I think that's how you say his name, who is the team principal of Williams, talk about this, and they looked at the data like after the race, and so basically what we saw is like Alex kind of lose it, and then he spun and crashed into one of the barriers. But James Bowles was saying that actually there was some data from before, because he actually was going slower on this lap than the lap prior, so it wouldn't have made sense for him to have lost it. But there was something to do with the car before that made him lose it. It wasn't actually all of Alex's fault. It was something that had happened to the car. I can't remember exactly what he said. So yeah, so unfortunately then Alex Albon DNF'd.
Did they have to red flag that as well, or was that like a yellow flag?
I will get onto that. So we then had safety car. So we had some people pit. George Russell pitted under safety car, thinking what perfect time to pit. He was in the lead. So now Max is in the lead. Oh, it's going to be fine, right? So George pits under safety car. Then they go, red flag. And George is like, are you serious? I've just pitted and now it's red flagged. So let's just say George was not happy. So then the race was going to be a standing restart. And then the race restarted, and basically Hamilton was ahead. Actually, not Max. Hamilton was first, not Max. Hamilton was first, and he had quite a big gap from the safety car when they were heading back out on track, and the commentators were questioning, like, because Max was questioning it, and the commentators were questioning like whether it was allowed, but apparently it actually was, because there's a different regulation, and so they were allowed to have that big of a gap between the safety car, but you couldn't have that big of a gap between the cars individually. I'm not so sure.
Okay.
But basically, Max was
Okay.
querying it. Everyone was querying it, thinking that Lewis was in the wrong. But then turns out that Lewis was right all along, but none of us realised until later on in the race. So it was going to be looked into, but then it wasn't because it was fine. But then at the back of the grid, everyone was then like going off and overtaking everyone, and
I saw
like
that.
chaos. But it wasn't really looked into and never really spoke up again. And I was like, what's going on? Why are we not talking about this more? So I don't. Do you guys know anything about that?
I don't, but this was the point where I turned it on and then watched about 10 seconds and then immediately turned it off again to go to sleep. But I did see the cars. It was like, I felt like they should have had some kind of like comedy car music playing, because every time they'd go around a corner, one of the cars would come round, they'd be immediately realizing, oh, I'm too close, they'd slam on the brakes, and then the car behind them would overshoot them and go off the grass, and like,
yeah,
it was like a sort of clown car collection behind Lewis.
That's exactly what it was like. It was very bizarre, but it wasn't looked into at all.
Is this the clip where they were all like basically stood still on, like, there was a clip of like 5 cars on a turn. I don't know which turn it was. They weren't moving.
Yeah,
they weren't moving.
Yeah. But everyone else was going like round and
Lewis Hamilton dragging his feet.
So then we start again, but Ocon and Nick make contact, but it was again not investigated because it was a racing incident.
Okay.
Everything was kind of fine for a bit. So from like lap 10 to lap 17.
So none of that kind of stuff got penalties.
No, none of that got looked into, right? None of that got looked into. Okay. So then lap 18 starts to kick off again, because George Russell is now on fire. So not only did he take his pit stop doing the safety car when it then turned into a red flag, he now is out of this race.
His car just
on
burst
fire.
into flames.
I love how this is still only lap 18 as well. And there's already so much like, okay, so George Russell's on fire.
We have.
So that's Leclerc, Albon, George.
I think at the moment it was just those 3.
Just the 3, okay.
Okay, so then that was fine. We have virtual safety car. It's all good. Lap 23, Checo is having the best time of his life. He started in P8. Now he's in the points and he's 10th. Right? No one's talking about this. No one's talking about this because there are too many other things going on that poor Checo was not getting any screen time for what an amazing drive he's having. Right. Then I did write this, but I think this was wrong.
Wait, hold on. Can we just take a moment to clap for Checo?
Yeah, absolutely. Checo.
Absolutely.
There we go. Give him his flowers. Carry on.
It gets to lap 54. And there's a bit of a gap, kind of, when nothing really that intense happened. It was kind of all right. I think we saw some battles between Norris and Checo, but that was kind of it. So I think what I've written here, though, is wrong. I put Hulk's tyre falls off, but I'm pretty sure it was K-Mag's tyre that fell off. But I was very tired. At this point, it's coming up to 8 a.m. I'd already been absent for 5 hours. I was tired. I think it was K-Mag.
The important thing to note is that it was a Haas.
It was a wheel of a Haas fell off. And so guess what? Safety car.
Oh, okay.
Yay.
Lap 54 safety car. Guess what happens on lap 55?
Another safety car.
Red flag. So
did anyone else fall for
they have a restart.
Did anyone else fall for the curse of pitting and then it ended up being a red flag?
I can't remember. I didn't write that down. So obviously we have red flag lap 55, and then we have a restart on lap 58 where everyone just crashed. I don't know what went on. So it
was just a mad scramble.
Now Pierre Gasly was having a fantastic race. He was like 5th for most of this race. We thought, yes, Alpine are going to get some good points. Ocon also not having that bad of a race. Maybe I think just outside of the points. I'm like, yes, come on, let's go. We restart.
And he's gone.
This is the first time that we saw both Alpines make contact.
Did they take each other
They
out?
took each other out.
I
Oh,
saw about
is
that.
this
was
the
sad.
photo of the two of them just sat on the grass next to each other? I think one's lightly smoking a bit. Is
Yeah.
it that picture? Because
Yeah.
I saw that. Oh,
Because
it's so tragic.
they both went into the wall. And then both Stroll and Alonso, I think, went into the gravel. So everything just basically kicked off. Loads of cars went out. I think no, K-Mag was K-Mag was already out. But just like everything just kind of went chaos, right?
So just to recap, that's the two Alpines out.
Two Alpines
Is
out.
that also the two Aston Martins out?
Technically, but I will come back to that. Technically, both
Okay.
Aston Martins should have been out. Technically.
Okay.
We then also obviously earlier on we had George out. We've had Hulkenberg. Hulkenberg out. No, we haven't. Not Hulkenberg. K-Mag out.
One of the Haas.
One of the Hasses. Then we also had
Leclerc.
Yeah, so
Back in lap 1.
We've already had so many DNFs, right? So then it's red flagged. Obviously, we've had a nightmare of a race. But
how many red flags?
What we're meant to do? This is 3 red flags.
Okay.
We're like, okay, so what do we do now? What's happening now?
Isn't the Australian Grand Prix only like 60 something laps and we're on lap 59? Like how?
Yeah.
Is that not Abu Dhabi again?
We had 1 lap left, and we were like, how do we even restart? Like, which order do we have the cars in? Because every car now is in a different place to when it started, but they didn't even make it to the first corner pretty much. So where do we restart? So for ages, it's red flagged, and the FIA are trying to work out what they need to do, because there are regulations about when you haven't gone so far about how you do the restart, but they've never really seen something like this before. So they then the restart order then was, and I need to hope that I wrote the numbers down, so I need to hope that I know the driver numbers quite well. 1, Max Verstappen. 44, Lewis Hamilton. 14, Alonso. 55, Carlos Sainz. 18, Lance Stroll. 11, Checo. 4, Norris. 27, Hulkenberg. 81, Piastri. 24. That can't be right. Who's 24?
Don't ask me.
Nope, that's
yeah,
22.
you're not asking the right people here, Daniella.
I don't know. Maybe I've written that wrong. I was half asleep at this point. 22, Yuki Tsunoda, and then 77, Valtteri Bottas.
Okay.
So somewhere there must have been. Oh, I don't even know anymore. I don't know anymore. Maybe I wrote 2 and then something. I don't know. I can't read my writing anymore. Anyway, so as I said before, the Aston Martins were out, but because it didn't crash, they could be brought back in for the restart, because the restart was going to be the same order that they had at the previous restart, just without the Alpines.
Yeah.
But
so hold on. Were they brought back in or not?
The Aston Martins were, but the Alpines weren't.
Okay, all right. FIA.
That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But okay.
So then,
fine.
But before they decided that, Carlos Sainz was 3rd, right?
Yeah.
Because he made contact with Alonso, which is why Alonso was in the gravel, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then, that all happened, and Carlos thought, great, I'm 3rd, I'm going to get a podium. They then announced that Carlos has got a 5-second penalty, even though the Aston Martins were not out because they were brought back in.
They weren't affected.
They weren't affected in any way.
So Carlos is technically getting a penalty, even though the crash didn't actually damage the Aston Martin's race, because they were allowed to come back.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a bit off. And as well, because I swear, because of I might be jumping ahead a bit, but I swear, didn't they, because it's only 1 lap, Like that's not enough time to build up any kind of
Yes.
gap. So he's going to
Get
have
it
a
back.
huge.
So that brings up my next point, right? Whilst they decided this, my immediate thought was that is extremely dangerous for announcing now that he's got a 5-second penalty, because everyone now is going to drive as fast as they can. They're all going to be pushing each other to get through, so that they will be within that 5 seconds to get points.
Yeah.
So that then Carlos won't get points, and pretty much the rest of them will get points, or those in the top 10.
Yeah.
So that could have been really dangerous, and we could have seen even more crashes, because people were going to be going so much faster and trying to get everyone else in front of them to go so much faster, just so they could be within the points within the 5 seconds. But because it was one lap, it was going to happen anyway. That was my immediate reaction. And I think they also spoke about it in the commentary, and I was like, yes, that's what I was thinking. So what I don't technically think maybe Carlos should have got that 5-second penalty, but if they were going to give it to him, they should have waited till after the race. Now, I don't agree with after race penalties, but this is an exception, because this could have put nearly all of the drivers at risk. If they'd waited till afterwards and then given the 5-second penalty, then no one would have put each other at risk by trying to get within that 5 seconds. That's my personal
they could have.
People might disagree with me. It's racing, it's motorsport. We should have risk, like all of this, but that's just my personal opinion.
They could have done that anyway, because it would have been within they have like 30 minutes, right, or something, to give a penalty after the incidents. That would have been well within the time.
Exactly.
That's so odd. So odd.
Yeah. So
it's also very interesting that none of the other incidents got penalties, but they were very, very quick and speedy to give this one a penalty.
I know. What about I think there should have been penalties to do with that. You know, that restart where I said everyone was going off and overtaking each other, and it was all just chaos.
Yeah.
That I think should have been looked into more. But I'm not the FIA, so I don't know.
Damn, that's odd. And even they could have even just not given the penalty, because it's like you said, the Aston Martins weren't like, that's the whole the logic behind penalties, right, is that you cause another driver to lose time on their race, or to damage their race, and then you also lose time on your own race as like punishment, right? But then you said the Aston Martins weren't even disadvantaged, so but then I suppose if he did still cause the crash, I don't know. I'm not.
I don't think he deserved it. I don't think he deserved it, the penalty. But that's a whole other question. Like, even if they were,
he'd already looked like it didn't disadvantage them. It actually advantaged them, because they still got to go from third. Yeah. So they still had Alonso on the podium. So not only did Carlos not get that podium because they brought the Aston Martins back, he then ended up with no points because he was pushed back by the rest of the pack because of the 5-second penalty.
I've got to say, I think it's so interesting, because like I said, I came down at 8 and I caught that last lap where they were all just driving. They did one lap under the safety car to finish the race, and like, as ridiculous as that looks, just sort of seeing all the cars slowly cross the line and their points come in, it does make me think a lot back to Abu Dhabi and the whole protocol that they did there, which is obviously very, because it was the same situation, right? But in 2021, they decided to race that last lap and not like safety car it, right? I might be wrong. I don't know. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I find that interesting. And then just the poor sight of seeing Carlos cross the line, and then the scoreboard updates and his name just it's very, very tragic.
I heard the radio message. A lot of people were posting it on TikTok. So I heard that.
Yeah.
Honestly, heartbreaking.
It was very. What was it exactly that he said? Because I remember hearing it once, and it was very emotional.
He goes, please. I said wait and let me discuss with the stewards.
Yeah.
He starts off with like.
He goes like no, doesn't he?
Yeah, he goes no, like I don't deserve to be out of the points for this. It's too severe of a penalty for something like this. Like, please let me discuss with them. And I think the team go like, it's out of our hands, like there's nothing we can do. And then he goes into like please, like
Oh,
Yeah,
that's tough.
it was
That's
really
really
sad.
tough. It's just a bad day for Ferrari overall, isn't it? Like with Leclerc going out lap one and then
I honestly
having
think
Carlos at the end.
something is going on.
It's really heartbreaking to see, like, especially with what's gone on with them in previous races where they've not done this. There's not been this much of a disaster, but they've sort of been like midfield as opposed to kind of fighting up
Yeah.
front.
Yeah,
Is like the fact that Aston Martin and Mercedes are both, I might be wrong, they're both currently doing better, right, in terms of
mm,
points than Ferrari,
I
is
think so.
a real kind of shocker
Yeah.
for me, actually. Wasn't expecting it all.
No. Shall we move on briefly to? It was the Australian Grand Prix. We did have an Australian driver who did score their first points.
Yay!
It's his home
Oscar
race. Yeah.
Piastri.
Go on, Oscar.
And so that was really good to see. But I had on a different podcast mentioned with one of my other co-hosts about Ricciardo versus Piastri and how could Ricciardo overshadow Piastri during the Australian Grand Prix weekend. And I made this prediction. We discussed this before the race weekend even started. And unfortunately, I do think it was the case. If you're listening,
the moment you said that, I was like, he did. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you are listening and you can't see me right now, I am decked out in full Danny Rick merch. I make it loud and proud that I am a Danny Rick fan, and I have been for most of my life. But I do think it was slightly unfair that he did overshadow Oscar. However, bring back Ricciardo anytime you like, and I will.
Danny Rick main character.
He is, and he's living his best life, and he looks happy, and I'm loving it. But I do feel bad for Oscar because this was his home race. There were a lot of expectations after everything that happened with him getting into Formula One, and obviously he's not driving the best car. And realistically, would he have scored points if all of these red flags didn't have happened? Probably not. That's not a reflection on him. That is reflection on the McLaren car.
Yeah.
But I do think he was slightly overshadowed. But everyone was happy to see Oscar get points. But I did just briefly want to mention Daniel Ricciardo. Daniel, I do love you, and I love that you are happy, but also it was Oscar's time to shine. Like I'm happy. Like I'm so glad he was there and he was living his best life and everyone was loving it. And I'm happy to see him happy. And I was so glad that he was there and got to be a part of the weekend. But I do also I feel for Oscar too. I don't even know if it affected Oscar in any way. Oscar might have been like, yeah, no, it was so great to have Daniel there. Like he probably didn't mind, but part of me was like, if that was me, I feel like I'd feel a bit just not disheartened, but maybe a bit like, yeah.
Just from what I've seen of Oscar Piastri in interviews, to be fair, he doesn't. I don't know. I don't want to assume anything because obviously I don't know him, but he does come across as more of an introvert or just less extroverted than someone like Daniel Ricciardo. Like, Daniel Ricciardo.
I think it was inevitable.
Real ease with the press, but also it might be that he didn't mind because I know a lot of the drivers probably don't enjoy the press circus anyway. So he doesn't seem like somebody who'd be like, no, I want my time with the cameras. But
I agree.
I was just gonna say that I don't think he's that kind of person. To want that kind of thing and to be salty that he didn't get,
but also even on track, even though Daniel wasn't on track, I do think that maybe people had kind of forgotten that Oscar was there and racing and was Australian because everyone had been talking about Daniel Ricciardo the whole weekend. But that was just kind of my thoughts. And something else I wanted to ask you both about was the fans coming on track at the end of the race.
Oh my god!
So I had not heard a thing about this until today. So somebody explain, were they going on while the race was happening? Was this afterwards?
It was coming to. So you know how when the race finishes, they're still kind of driving round afterwards.
Yeah,
that was happening. And basically, spectators of the sport, all the fans, were climbing up over the fencing to get onto the track. But not only did you have the F1 car still going around, you had the tractors and other vehicles on track, which seemed extremely dangerous.
Yeah,
if
it
we
sounds
go
it.
back
That's
to Japan, if we go back to Japan last year and Japan in 2013,
for 16, isn't it? 15, 2015
thank you.
or
I can't
14.
remember.
It was between 14 and 16.
Yeah.
If we're talking about Jules Bianchi.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
It's one of
We
one of
know
those
how
two.
dangerous it is to have any other vehicle on track when the cars are still there, let alone when people are on the track. It's not the same when the marshals are on track because they're trained
Because the
for it.
marshals are trained, yeah.
They know what
Yeah.
they're doing. They're in high vis orange. You can see them. If you're wearing a black Mercedes top, they're not going to see you as clearly as they are going to see a marshal in bright orange.
I don't
sun is
understand
setting.
why you would do that.
The sun
I
was
saw
setting.
videos.
The sun was going into the eyes of the drivers anyway. It had already been said on the radio throughout the race. The sun was setting because all the red flags, obviously it took longer. Sun was getting in their eyes and they couldn't see as clearly as they can normally when the sun is high, right? So these fans of the sport are now on track at the same time that the cars are. I personally think it's extremely dangerous. I know other people have disagreed, and I've listened to other people's podcasts that I'm not going to name who have disagreed and have said that it's not that serious, that dangerous things happen. You do other dangerous things in life, and it's not questioned. So why is this being questioned? But I do think it is something. I don't know what they could have done differently, because I guess at the end of the day you can't really control people's behavior and what they do. But I do think it is something that needs to be reviewed.
Well, but
That's the
this doesn't happen at other, as far as I'm aware, at other tracks. Like people wait till the cars stop moving and then you open up the track and you let people come on.
Yeah.
Like it's just a case of having, like I don't see the difference between somebody running onto the track during the race, which everybody agrees is bad and you should not do that, and running onto the track after the race but while cars are still driving. Like it's just as simple as you have a space for fans, for people, and the race finishes, the cars come off the track, and then you open up the doors and you let everyone on. And until that happens, you should not be on the track. So if it's that the people who were running the Grand Prix allowed people to do that while the cars were still going, then that's awful and they shouldn't have done it.
The people
And
just
if it was
started going.
if it was people just jumping the fence, then that was bad and they shouldn't have been doing it. Like either way, because also it's not fair on your own life, which you're putting in danger. It's also not fair on the drivers, because the consequences of if you're running on the track like an idiot and then they happen to hit you, which they might, because as you've said, they can't see properly and they're still driving like 50 miles an hour, they're going to have to live with that for
exactly
the rest of their lives. It's not nice.
You don't do that. You don't just walk into the middle of the road when a car's coming
exactly
like
at 50 miles an hour.
Yeah, you don't do that then. So why is it okay here? Yeah, that's my question.
It's literally the matter of like waiting 2 minutes.
They were just impatient
to open the track. Like it's not like you're being massively inconvenienced by waiting in the stands, or like a football match. Imagine if like they had just finished the game and then people were still like running around and talking, and then you wouldn't run onto the pitch during a football match or something like that, would you? You wait until the game's over and everyone's stopped and then you go on. It's just I think you wait till the cars are off. I don't know.
I agree. But shall we leave it there for today? And on that note, maybe wrap it up. We're getting very passionate about this. But I think it was an interesting
health and
discussion
safety is important.
It is, and we are going to cover that in another episode. I don't know when we're going to do that, but that is something that's been on our list for a while that we'd like to discuss.
Now we've got a break. We have time during the break.
I say we have time. We have time to talk about other things to do with motorsport other than the races, but we don't really have time in terms of personal lives, because we don't have time to record. We're all trying to do uni.
I have no time.
On that note, we will wrap up. So thank you very much for listening to this episode of the DHD Racing Podcast. We'll hope you tune in next time. Bye.
Bye.